anyways, I read this in 2 days, which is really fast for me because I'm a slow reader. It was super duper duper good. And spoiler alert. It follows the storyline of a girl named Lou. She lives in a small village. She's never really left the village. She's never really done anything with her life outside of what she's doing currently. She works in a cafe. She lives with her parents. She has a long-term boyfriend for like 7 years. Side note, if you are not married after 7 years of dating, you're probably not gonna get married. Just putting that out there. Anyways, she's happy with her life. She shouldn't be, but she is. And she ends up getting fired from her job, which turns her world upside down because her family doesn't have a lot of money. So she immediately goes to get a well-needed job. And it pays a lot, and it's a caregiver for a crippled man named Will. Will is crippled from the shoulder area down. He can't do anything. He has a little bit of movement in his fingers, but besides that, he's unable to do anything for himself. He can't feed himself. He can't brush his hair. He can't go to the loo, which is apparently a British word for bathroom. He can't do anything for himself. And so he lives a really depressing life because of that, because a lot of the decisions that you have as a person is taken away from him after this accident. It happened 2 years previous to when the book is taking place. And yeah, she's hired to watch after him for every day, 5 days a week. She gets weekends off. And to be completely honest, for the first 70 pages, I hated Will. He was a jerk to her. I understood that he was depressed, and that was why he was a jerk, but he was horrible. Like, he was so mean to her, and she was super sweet, and she always tried so hard. She was super chatty, and he'd be like, go away, I don't like you. Kind of, it just made me really angry. Until finally, he starts to grow in, like, they start to grow on each other, I guess. So she doesn't hate him as much, and he likes her a lot more. And that's when you start to like Will's character a lot more, which I wish I never did like Will's character, because it really sucks because of what happens in the end. I think the reason that he was so mean to her for a while was because he didn't want to let anybody in, because it would kind of mess up his plans. But it didn't, which is unfortunate. It tried. She really tried, but it didn't. The plans that he has for his future is suicide. The job is a 6-month job, and it's a 6-month job because that's when he has decided that he is going to commit suicide. He gave his parents 6 months after he first tried to commit suicide, and now he is 6 months away from deciding assisted suicide. And she finds this out. It's like 2 months into the job, maybe less. She finds this out, and she quits the job, but she is convinced to go back. She finds this out not from Will, so Will doesn't know that she knows. And she decides to take it upon herself that she's going to make him live. She's going to make him want to live. She's going to make him happy, and his happiness becomes a huge deal to her, like a very big deal. And so she starts spending more and more time with him, like even outside of work. She starts taking him places and taking long walks in the garden, and he starts to really like her. And honestly, I think she starts liking him as more than a friend. And that really ticks Patrick off, which is her boyfriend. And Patrick convinces her to move in with him. And that doesn't work out, and they end up breaking up. And that's when Will and Lou's relationship starts to really grow in a romantic dynamic, more or less. So she is finally convincing him to do a lot of stuff. He's going places with her, and he's happy. He honestly seems happy. and she thinks it's working. She thinks that she's going to be able to convince him to live. So she convinces him to take this really long trip of like bungee jumping because he is so like upset that she has never done anything outside of her little village, really. And so he keeps trying to convince her to go places like Paris and do all these different things, and she won't do it without him. And so she convinces him to take this really long trip with her, as more or less for her than for him, but it's actually for him. Um, and he agrees, which is a surprise. And Nathan, which is his medical caregiver, is gonna go with them. And he, she feels very confident that this is what's gonna change it. And then he gets pneumonia, and he's hospitalized. Um, Throughout the book, he has a series of medical issues just because of being crippled. He has a lot of infections and bacteria. His immune system doesn't work the same. So it's a big deal for him to go anywhere, and he ends up getting pneumonia, which was no surprise, which was unfortunate. And she can't go on the trip anymore, and he can't go on the trip anymore because of this pneumonia thing. And so she ends up planning a different trip for him on this paradise island, and it's beautiful there. They go, and there's 2 weeks left until the date where he will commit assisted suicide, which, if you don't already know, is where the doctors help you kill yourself with drugs. I believe it's drugs. I'm not sure. But anyways, so they're on this beautiful trip, and she starts really falling in love with him. And she thinks that he's falling in love with her too, and I believe that he honestly was. But it's not enough. On the last night, he tells her that he's going to do the assisted suicide, and if she really loves him, she will accept it and even support it. She refuses, obviously, because why would you want the man that you love to die? You wouldn't. And you'd think that if he really loved you, he wouldn't kill himself. But he's made the decision, and there's no changing his mind. So she's really mad, and she goes home, and she's just outraged. She's got so many feelings. She's got anger. She's got sadness. She's in love with this man who's killing himself. And she gets a call from Switzerland, which is where which is where the clinic is that you are going to commit the assisted suicide. And she gets a call that they really want her there, and she packs her stuff and she goes, despite all the family's efforts to make her not go. She goes, she sees him, and he explains that he really loves her, and it's just he needs to not have to deal with it anymore. His life isn't his life any longer. It's not what he wanted. And to be kind of honest, it was sort of selfish, but I understand. He had a depressing life. He was gonna die. He had 10 years tops, maybe. One way or another, he was going to die, and it wasn't going to be a forever thing. So he decided it was better sooner than later. And they're in this clinic place, and he's explaining this to her, and he tells her that he wants her to go on, and he wants her to find these places, and he wants her to discover new things, and he doesn't think that she's going to be able to do that with him. And throughout the entire book, they mention this Paris, this small place in Paris, this cafe, and he just tells her it was the most beautiful place. It was his favorite place in the entire world. And she tries to convince him to go there, but it doesn't work. So the end of the book, after he's done the committed suicide and I've sobbed my eyes out, it's the epilogue, I don't know, it's one of them. I can never figure out what it's called. She's in this little small place in Paris, and he had paid for her to go, That was part of her will and his will. He was willing to make a will, and he left her with a bunch of money so that she could go to college and that she could have a better life outside of that small village that they lived in, and to just explore her horizons or her life to make it better and make it what he thought could be a better life for her. And that's where it really broke me, because here he is, this guy who is convincing this girl to live a better life, to do more with her life, and he's planning on killing himself the entire time. I think that really broke me because he's just such a amazing character. He has so much depth to him. It's only 369 pages, I think. Let me look. 369 pages, I was right. And you learn about this character and you fall in love with this character. And then he breaks your heart. He honestly does. He tears it in half. And that's why I really like this book, because I like being able to feel something for someone who's not real, to be completely honest. Like, I love feeling something that's imaginary, and I really felt in this book. It really gave me the feels. I had a fangirl attack, definitely, with this book. It left me with a surprisingly upsetting piece. Like, it was this weird, it's like this feeling when it's over, you've finished, but you're not sure you like it. You're not sure that you liked how it ended. And I'm not sure I did. I mean, I would have really, really, really wished that he would have lived and gone on to live a beautiful life with Louisa, and had children, and whatever, or not had children, adopted children, because he can't have children. And just had a beautiful life with her, and it just never happened. And that kind of disappointed me, but at the same time, I don't think it would have been as good if that had happened, because the ending is one of the best parts of the book, because it's the part that makes you really, really feel, like, the emotion, the feels, gives you the feels. And so I suggest this book to anybody who would like it, because, I mean, it's such a good book. It reminded me a lot of The Fault in Our Stars, but it was a lot different from The Fault in Our Stars. It wasn't, like, on the same path as The Fault in Our Stars, I don't think, but it had a similar feeling to it. It was funny and sarcastic a lot, and it was a very good book. Like, it was an excellent book, and I would suggest that anybody who likes reading read this book, because it is such a good book. Honest to God, a good book. I read it in 2 days, and that's really fast for me because I'm a slow reader. And just read it, please. Please read this book and cry with me. It's so heartbreaking, but it's such a beautiful book. So I suggest you read this book, and I suggest you share it with your friends, and I suggest they share it with their friends, and this book needs to live a long time because it's amazing, and I really love the cover. So that's my feelings towards Me Before You, and I'm gonna call it a vlog, I guess. So this is my first official vlog. But read this book. I give it like 5 stars out of 5 stars. It's super, super duper good. And good luck reading it, and bring some tissues to the theaters when you go watch it in theaters. Which it comes out June 3rd and has Sam Claflin in it. Yes! Later.